The message arrived at 3 in the morning. When most of the world was sleeping, Kevin Brooks sat alone in the communications center beneath the mountains of Colorado. He was 26 years old, and this was his first month on the night shift. The job was usually boring. He spent most nights drinking coffee and watching screens that showed nothing but static and routine satellite data. But tonight was different. The signal came from deep space, far beyond anything human technology had ever reached. Kevin stared at his screen as the transmission decoded itself. The message was not in any human language, but the computer translated it within seconds. Someone, or something, had sent this message knowing exactly how to make humans understand it. Kevin read the words 3 times before he believed them. People of Earth, this is the Galactic Council. You have 72 hours to surrender your planet and submit to Council authority. Resistance will result in the complete destruction of your species. This is not a negotiation. This is your only warning. His hands were shaking as he picked up the phone. 6 hours later, Daniel Harris stood in a room filled with the most powerful leaders on Earth. He was the Secretary General of the United Earth Coalition, a man known for his calm voice and steady hands. He had guided humanity through wars, plagues, and disasters. But nothing had prepared him for this. "The message is real," said Admiral Laura Bennett. She was a tall woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. She had commanded ships and soldiers for 30 years. "We have confirmed its origin. It came from a point in space approximately 40 light years away. The technology required to send such a message is far beyond anything we have developed." "How long have we known about them?" asked the President of France. "About aliens?" Daniel Harris looked around the room. This was the moment he had hoped would never come. "We have known for 63 years, he said. "Since the crash in Nevada in 1962, and again in Siberia in 1978, and the incident in the Pacific in 2001, the room erupted in angry voices. Leaders shouted questions and demanded answers. Daniel let them speak. He understood their anger. The secret had been kept from most of the world, even from most governments. Only a small group had known the truth. "We kept it secret because we were not ready," Daniel continued when the room grew quiet. "We were not united. We were not prepared. If the world had learned about alien life back then, there would have been panic, wars, chaos. So we waited. We studied. We prepared. Prepared for what?" asked the Prime Minister of Japan. Admiral Laura Bennett stepped forward. "Prepared for this," she said. "For the day when they would come and demand our surrender." She pressed a button, and the screens around the room changed. They showed images that made the leaders gasp. Ships, massive warships hidden in underground hangars. Weapon systems built into mountains and beneath oceans. A fleet of vessels stationed on the dark side of the moon, invisible to civilian telescopes. "We have spent 60 years building a defense force," Laura said. "We reverse-engineered their technology from the crashes. We improved it. We made it our own. Earth is not as helpless as they believe." The room was silent for a long moment. "But can we win?" asked the Chancellor of Germany. "Against an entire Galactic Council?" Daniel Harris took a deep breath. "I do not know," he said honestly. "But I know one thing. We will not surrender. Not today. Not ever." 12 hours after the message arrived, Earth sent its response. Ambassador Nicole Dawson stood before the transmission device. She was a woman of 50 with kind eyes and a gentle voice. She had spent her career building bridges between nations. Now she would speak for her entire species. To the Galactic Council, she began. "We have received your message. We understand your demands, and we must respectfully decline." In the council chambers, 40 light years away, Representatives from 100 species watched the transmission with confusion. The Velthari, the most powerful species in the Council, had conquered dozens of worlds. No one had ever refused them before. High Executor Zorath, the supreme commander of the Velthari fleet, leaned forward in his seat. He was a massive creature with scales like armor and eyes like burning coals. He had destroyed civilizations. He had crushed rebellions. He had never seen a species smile while rejecting their own survival. But the human woman was smiling. "Earth is our home," Nicole continued. "Our people have lived here for thousands of generations. We have fought and struggled and grown together. We have made mistakes, and we have learned from them. We are not perfect, but we are free. And we will remain free." She paused, and her smile grew wider. "You have offered us a choice between surrender and destruction. We choose neither. We choose to stand. We choose to defend our home. And we choose to hope that one day we might meet not as enemies, but as friends." The transmission ended. High Executor Zorath stared at the empty screen. Around him, council members whispered to each other in worried tones. This was not supposed to happen. Primitive species were supposed to beg for mercy. They were supposed to surrender when faced with overwhelming force. "They are fools," Zorath said. "They do not understand what they face." But deep in his chest, in a place he did not want to acknowledge, he felt something strange. Something he had not felt in centuries of conquest. On Earth. Daniel Harris watched Nicole finish the transmission. She turned to him, and her smile faded into something more serious. "Do you think they will attack?" she asked. "Yes," Daniel said. "They will come with everything they have. They cannot allow a primitive species to defy them. It would make them look weak. Then we should prepare." Daniel nodded. He looked out the window at the night sky, filled with stars that suddenly seemed much closer than before. "We've been preparing our whole lives," he said. "Every war we fought. Every obstacle we overcame. Every time someone told us we could not survive, and we proved them wrong. This is what humanity does. We face the impossible, and we find a way." He smiled, just as Nicole had smiled in her message. "Let them come," he said. "They have no idea what they are walking into." Across the planet, word spread quickly. People gathered in streets and squares, looking up at the sky. There was fear, yes, but there was also something else. Something that burned bright in every human heart. Defiance. The galaxy had demanded their surrender. And humanity had rejected it with a smile. Now they would show the stars what that smile really meant. Admiral Laura Bennett had waited 30 years for this moment. She stood in the command center buried, deep beneath the Nevada desert, surrounded by screens and officers who moved with quiet urgency. The room hummed with energy. Lights blinked. Voices called out status reports. And in the center of it all, Laura remained perfectly calm. "Begin protocol sunrise," she said. The words echoed through secure channels across the planet and beyond. In hidden bases beneath mountains and oceans, engineers and soldiers who had trained in secret for decades finally received the order they had always expected. Earth was waking up. On the dark side of the moon, massive hangar doors opened for the first time since they were built. Ships rose from their hiding places, their hulls gleaming in the light of distant stars. There were hundreds of them. Destroyers, carriers, battleships designed with technology that no human scientist could have invented alone. Captain Ryan Mitchell stood on the bridge of the largest ship in the fleet. The Edge Defiance was half a kilometer long, built to carry a crew of 2,000. Ryan was 42 years old, a man who had spent his entire adult life preparing for a war he hoped would never come. "All systems online," reported his first officer. "Fleet is forming up." "We are ready, Captain." Ryan looked out at the stars through the massive viewport. Somewhere out there, an alien armada was coming to destroy everything he loved. His wife was on Earth, his children, his parents, everyone he had ever known. "Good," he said. "Tell the fleet to hold position. We move when the Admiral gives the order." Back on Earth, Dr. Megan Price walked through the corridors of a research facility that did not officially exist. She was 61 years old, with white hair and glasses that sat crookedly on her nose. She looked like a grandmother, but she was perhaps the most important scientist alive. "The gravity pulse system is fully operational," she told Daniel Harris through the video screen. "We tested it on asteroids last year. It works exactly as designed." "Explain it to me again," Daniel said. "In simple terms." Megan smiled. She had spent 40 years working on technology that came from crashed alien ships. Most of it was beyond human understanding when they first found it. But humans were good at learning. "Their weapons use energy pulses," she explained. "Very powerful, very fast. But energy can be redirected. Our system creates a field that bends gravity in a small area. When their weapons enter the field, they curve away from their targets. We can send their own missiles back at them." Daniel nodded slowly. "Will it be enough?" "It will help," Megan said honestly. "But technology alone will not win this war. The Council has thousands of ships. We have hundreds. The numbers are not in our favor." "Numbers have never been in our favor," Daniel replied. "That has never stopped us before." In Geneva, Ambassador Nicole Dawson prepared for her most important meeting. A ship from the neutral species had agreed to meet with her in orbit above Earth. They called themselves the Karathi, a peaceful race of traders and scholars who had avoided the Council's wars for centuries. The Karathi ambassador was named Velith. He was a thin creature with silver skin and large dark eyes that seemed filled with sadness. "You should surrender," Velith said. "I say this not as a threat, but as a friend. The Valkyrie have destroyed dozens of species. They have never been defeated. Your courage is admirable, but courage cannot stop plasma cannons." Nicole sat across from him in the small meeting room. She poured tea into 2 cups, a gesture of hospitality that seemed to confuse the alien. "Have you ever seen humans fight?" she asked. "I have seen your history," Velith admitted. "Your species has spent most of its existence fighting itself. It is disturbing." "Yes," Nicole agreed. "We are very good at war. We have practiced for thousands of years. But that is not why we will win." Velith tilted his head. "Then why?" Nicole pushed a cup of tea toward him. "Because we have something to protect. Our home, our families, our future. When humans fight for something they love, there is no force in the universe that can stop them." Velith looked at the tea, but did not drink. "The Council said the same thing about the Darathi, and the Namari, and the Vesti. All of them fought for their homes. All of them are gone now." "Then watch us," Nicole said with a smile. "Watch us carefully, because we are not like the others." 40 light years away, High Executor Zorath assembled his invasion fleet. 3,000 warships gathered at the staging point, their weapons charged and their crews eager for battle. The Valkyrie had not lost a war in 800 years. This would be no different. "The humans have a small fleet," reported one of his officers. "Perhaps 300 ships. Primitive designs based on stolen technology. They will fall within hours." Zorath nodded, but he could not forget the human woman's smile. There was something in that smile that bothered him. It was not the smile of ignorance or foolish hope. It was the smile of someone who knew a secret. "Send scout ships ahead," he ordered. "I want to know everything about their defenses before we attack." The scouts departed, faster than light engines, carrying them toward the small blue planet that had dared to refuse the Council. On Earth, The news spread across every screen and every speaker. Daniel Harris addressed the world, telling humanity the truth about the aliens, about the secret preparations, about the coming battle. "We face the greatest challenge in human history," he said. "An enemy with superior numbers and technology. An enemy that has conquered worlds and destroyed civilizations. They expect us to surrender. They expect us to beg for mercy." He paused, and billions of people held their breath. "They do not know us," Daniel continued. "They do not understand what we are capable of when we stand together. We are the species that survived ice ages and plagues. We are the species that split the atom and walked on the moon. We are the species that never, ever gives up." Around the world, people began to cheer. Strangers hugged in the streets. Old enemies shook hands. Differences that had divided humanity for centuries suddenly seemed small and unimportant. "We will face this enemy as one people," Daniel said. "One planet. One family. And we will show them what humanity really means." In the command center, Admiral Laura Bennett received reports from across the solar system. The fleet was in position. The defense systems were online. The soldiers were ready. She thought about her father, who had served in 3 wars. She thought about her grandmother, who had survived a refugee camp. She thought about all the generations of humans who had faced impossible odds and found a way to survive. "We are ready," she said quietly. Outside, the stars were silent and cold. But somewhere among them, an armada was coming, and humanity was waiting with a smile. The Valkyrie fleet arrived at the edge of the solar system like a storm rolling over the horizon. 3,000 warships emerged from faster-than-light travel, their massive forms blocking out the distant stars. The largest vessels were 5 kilometers long, covered in weapons that could reduce cities to ash in seconds. Smaller ships swarmed around them like angry insects. Hungry for battle, High Executor Zorath stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Dominion's Wrath. He looked at the tactical display showing the tiny blue planet that had dared to defy the Council. "Report," he commanded. "The human fleet is holding position near the 4th planet," his officer replied. "Approximately 320 vessels. Their largest ship is less than 1 kilometer in length. They are no threat to us." Zorath studied the display. The humans had arranged their ships in a defensive formation, blocking the direct path to Earth. It was a brave position, but a foolish one. They were outnumbered 10 to 1. "Send the scout wings forward," Zorath ordered. "Test their defenses. Find their weaknesses." 50 fast attack ships broke away from the main fleet and accelerated toward Mars. Their pilots were veterans of a dozen conquests. They had never failed to break an enemy line. Admiral Laura Bennett watched them coming from the command center on the EDS Defiance. She stood beside Captain Ryan Mitchell, her eyes fixed on the tactical display. "They are testing us," she said. "They want to see what we can do before they commit their main force. Should we engage?" Ryan asked. Laura shook her head. "Not yet. Let them come closer. Let them think we are afraid." The scout ships crossed the asteroid belt, their sensors probing for weaknesses in the human formation. They found nothing unusual. The human ships were holding still, their weapons powered down. "They are not even preparing to fight," laughed the Valkyrie scout commander. "These creatures truly are primitive." He ordered his ships to increase speed. They would make a quick pass through the human line, destroy a few vessels, and return with valuable intelligence. They never saw the mines. The asteroid belt was filled with thousands of small devices, hidden among the rocks. As the Valkyrie scouts passed through, the mines activated. Some exploded. Others released bursts of energy that scrambled sensors and navigation systems. Some attached themselves to Valkyrie hulls and began cutting through armor in seconds. The scout wing lost half its ships. The survivors scattered, their formation broken. "What is happening?" demanded the scout commander, his voice filled with confusion. "Fall back," screamed another pilot. "They have trapped the entire belt." On the Defiance, Lavra allowed herself a small smile. "Humans have been fighting wars for a very long time," she said. "We have learned a few tricks." Back on the flagship, High Executor Zorath received the report with cold fury. 23 scout ships destroyed, the rest damaged, and the human fleet had not fired a single shot. "They are more clever than I expected," he admitted. "But cleverness will not save them." He ordered his fleet forward, but slowly. There would be no more careless attacks. The Valkyrie would advance carefully, clearing each obstacle before moving on. The standoff began. For 3 days, the two fleets faced each other across millions of kilometers of space. The Valkyrie pushed forward slowly, disabling human traps and testing defenses. The humans fell back gradually, making the enemy pay for every kilometer gained. Small battles erupted constantly. A human destroyer would strike at a Valkyrie supply ship and disappear before reinforcements arrived. Valkyrie fighters would attack a human patrol, only to find themselves caught in crossfire from hidden weapon platforms. The losses on both sides grew, but the Valkyrie losses were worse. For every human ship destroyed, 3 Valkyrie vessels were damaged or destroyed. "This is impossible," muttered Zorath's tactical officer. "They should not be able to fight like this. Their technology is inferior." "Their technology may be inferior," Zorath replied slowly, "but their tactics are not. These humans fight like they have been preparing for us their entire existence." In the neutral zone beyond the battle, Ambassador Nicole Dawson met with representatives from a dozen species who had come to watch. They sat in a diplomatic vessel, observing the conflict through long-range sensors. "You are losing ships," said Volith, the Karathi ambassador. "Your fleet grows smaller every day." "Yes," Nicole agreed. "But look at their fleet." The displays showed the truth. The Valkyrie had lost over 200 ships in 3 days. Supply lines were stretched thin. Morale was falling. "They expected to crush us in hours," Nicole continued. "Every day that we survive, their confidence weakens. Every ship they lose makes them question whether this war is worth fighting." "But they still outnumber you greatly," said another ambassador. "A tall being with feathers instead of hair." "Numbers are not everything," Nicole said. "We have something they lack. We are fighting for our home. They are fighting for pride. There is a difference." On Earth, Daniel Harris watched the battle reports with growing hope. The plan was working. The Valkyrie were strong, but they were also arrogant. They had never faced an enemy that refused to fight on their terms. "How long can we hold them at Mars?" he asked Admiral Bennett through the communication link. "Perhaps another week," Lavra replied. "But eventually they will break through. We cannot stop 3,000 ships with 300. "We do not need to stop them," Daniel said. "We only need to make them bleed enough that they reconsider this war. And if they do not reconsider?" Daniel was silent for a moment. "Then we fall back to Earth and make our last stand. And we show the galaxy what humanity can do when we have nothing left to lose." In his quarters aboard the flagship, High Executor Zorath stared at the battle reports. The numbers did not make sense. His forces were stronger. His technology was better. His soldiers were more experienced. Yet the humans kept fighting. He thought about the smile on the human ambassador's face. That confident, knowing smile. What did they know that he did not? A message arrived from the human fleet. It was from Admiral Laura Bennett. "High Executor," the message began. "Your forces have suffered significant losses in the past 3 days. We offer a ceasefire. Withdraw your fleet beyond our solar system, and no more blood needs to be spilled. We have no desire for war, but we will never surrender our freedom. The choice is yours." Zorath crushed the communication device in his fist. "No," he growled. "There will be no ceasefire. There will be no withdrawal. These humans have humiliated us long enough." He turned to his officers, his eyes burning with rage. "Order all ships to advance. Full assault. We end this tomorrow." The message spread across the Valkyrie fleet. Engines roared to life. Weapons charged. 3,000 ships began moving toward Mars, and the small human fleet waiting there. On the bridge of the Defiance, Captain Ryan Mitchell received the news. "They are coming," he told Admiral Bennett. "All of them." Laura nodded. She had expected this. The Valkyrie could not accept a slow defeat. They would attack with everything they had. "Then we give them the fight they want," she said. "Signal all ships. Tomorrow, we show the galaxy what humanity is made of." The crews of 300 human vessels prepared for battle. They knew the odds. They knew many of them would not survive. But not one of them considered surrender. They were human, and humans never quit. The battle began at dawn, Earth time. 3,000 Valkyrie warships advanced in a massive wave, their weapons lighting up the darkness of space with deadly energy. The human fleet stood before them like a wall of steel, and determination. Captain Ryan Mitchell gripped the armrest of his command chair as the first enemy fire reached his ship. The shields of the Defiance flared bright as they absorbed the impact. "Return fire," he ordered. "All weapons. Show them what we have." The human fleet erupted with violence. Missiles streaked toward enemy vessels. Energy cannons tore through Valkyrie armor. Fighters launched from carrier bays and dove into the chaos with reckless courage. On the flagship Dominion's Wrath, High Executor Zorath watched the battle unfold with cold satisfaction. The humans were fighting hard, but they were still outnumbered. Every minute, more human ships fell silent, destroyed or disabled by overwhelming firepower. "Push forward," he commanded. "Break their line." The Valkyrie pressed their advantage. 100 ships focused their fire on a single human destroyer, tearing it apart in seconds. Another group surrounded a human carrier and cut it to pieces. The human formation began to crack. Admiral Laura Bennett watched the losses mounting from the Defiance's command center. Her heart ached with every ship that went dark, every crew that fell silent forever. But she kept her voice steady. "All ships, fall back to secondary positions," she ordered. "Execute pattern Omega-7. The human fleet began to retreat, pulling back toward a cluster of large asteroids near Mars. The Valkyrie pursued eagerly, sensing victory. "They are running," reported Zorath's tactical officer. "Their formation is collapsing." "Follow them," Zorath ordered. "Give them no chance to escape." But as the Valkyrie fleet chased the retreating humans into the asteroid field, something changed. The human ships suddenly stopped running. They turned and spread out, taking positions among the massive rocks. "What are they doing?" Zorath demanded. Then the asteroids began to move. Hidden engines built into the largest rocks fired to life. The asteroids accelerated toward the Valkyrie fleet, turning from harmless space debris into weapons of incredible mass. Valkyrie ships tried to evade, but there was nowhere to go. The asteroids crashed into them, crushing vessels like insects. They weaponized the asteroids, Zorath realized with horror. They have been preparing this trap for years. 300 Valkyrie ships were destroyed in minutes. The tight formation that had seemed so unstoppable moments before was now scattered and confused. And then the human counterattack began. Captain Ryan Mitchell led the charge personally. The Defiance dove through the chaos, its weapons firing constantly. Behind him, every surviving human ship followed, attacking with fury that stunned the Valkyrie crews. "Target their command ships," Ryan shouted. cut off their coordination. Human strike teams hit the Valkyrie supply vessels, destroying ammunition stores and fuel reserves. Without supplies, the enemy fleet would be stranded far from home. On Earth, Dr. Megan Price activated the gravity pulse system. Massive generators hidden on the Moon and Mars created fields of twisted space that bent around the battlefield. Valkyrie missiles curved away from their targets. Energy beams scattered harmlessly into the void. "Their weapons are failing," cried a Valkyrie gunner. "Something is wrong with our targeting systems." "It is not your systems," Zorath said quietly, understanding finally what they faced. "They are turning our own weapons against us." The tide of battle shifted completely. Human ships moved through the Valkyrie fleet like wolves among sheep, striking weak points and disappearing before reinforcements could arrive. The great armada that had seemed invincible was now fighting for survival. In the neutral observation vessel, the watching ambassadors stared at their screens in disbelief. "This is impossible," whispered a representative from a species that had surrendered to the Valkyrie centuries ago. "No one defeats the Valkyrie. No one." Ambassador Nicole Dawson sat calmly among them, her hands folded in her lap. "Humanity has a saying," she said. "Never tell us the odds." By midday, the battle was decided. The Valkyrie had lost over 1,000 ships. Their supply lines were destroyed. Their command structure was in chaos. High Executor Zorath looked at his tactical display and saw the truth. They had lost. "High Executor," said his communications officer, "we are receiving a message from the human fleet." Admiral Laura Bennett appeared on the screen. Her face was tired but proud. Behind her, the bridge of the Defiance showed the signs of hard combat. "High Executor Zorath," she said, "your fleet has suffered tremendous losses. Many brave soldiers on both sides have died today. But this battle is over. You cannot win." Zorath said nothing. His claws dug into the armrest of his throne. "We offer you a chance to end this with honor," Lavra continued. "Withdraw your remaining ships beyond our solar system. Return to your council and tell them that Earth is not a world to be conquered. We will not pursue you. We will not seek revenge. This war ends today, if you choose." Around Zorath, his officers waited in tense silence. They had never retreated before. The Valkyrie did not run from battle, but the Valkyrie had also never lost like this. "Why?" Zorath asked finally. "Why would you spare us? We came to destroy you. We would have killed every human on your planet." Laura's expression softened slightly. "Because mercy is not weakness," she said. "It takes more strength to spare an enemy than to destroy them. And we want the galaxy to know what kind of species we are. Not conquerors. Not destroyers. Humans choose peace when peace is possible." On Earth, Daniel Harris watched the exchange with tears in his eyes. They had done it. Against all odds, against an enemy that had never known defeat, humanity had won. "She's giving him a way out," Nicole said quietly from beside him. "A chance to save his remaining soldiers." "That is who we are," Daniel replied. "We fight when we must. But we never forget that our enemies are also living beings, with families and hopes of their own." On the Dominion's wrath, Zorath made his decision. "Order all ships to cease fire," he said. The words tasted like ash in his mouth. "We are withdrawing." A wave of shock passed through the Valkyrie fleet. Retreat? Surrender? These were words they had never spoken before, but they obeyed. Slowly, painfully, the surviving Valkyrie ships pulled back from the battlefield. They gathered their wounded and their dead. They left behind the wreckage of their pride. Captain Ryan Mitchell watched them go from the bridge of the Defiance. His crew was exhausted. His ship was damaged. They had lost many friends today, but they had won. "Signal to all human ships," he said quietly. "We did it. We actually did it. Across the fleet, cheers erupted. Soldiers embraced. Some wept. They had faced extinction and survived. They had proven that humanity would never bow to anyone. On Earth, the news spread within minutes. People poured into the streets, crying and laughing and holding each other. Church bells rang. Fireworks exploded. Strangers became friends in the joy of survival. And far away, retreating toward the stars, High Executor Zorath looked back at the small blue planet that had taught him the meaning of defeat. He had come to destroy them. Instead, they had shown him mercy. He did not understand these humans, but he had learned to respect them. 1 month after the battle, the galaxy was still talking about Earth. The news had spread to every corner of known space. A primitive species, barely capable of traveling beyond their own moon, had defeated the mighty Veltari fleet. The Galactic Council, which had ruled unchallenged for millennia, had been humiliated by creatures they considered little more than animals. Everything was changing. On the Veltari homeworld, High Executor Zorath stood before the Supreme Council. The chamber was massive, filled with representatives from the most powerful species in the galaxy. They looked at him with a mixture of anger and fear. "You lost nearly 2,000 ships," said the council chairman, his voice cold. "You retreated from a world we should have conquered in days. Explain yourself." Zorath stood tall despite his shame. "The humans are not what we expected," he said. "They are clever. They are adaptable. And they fight with a unity and determination I have never witnessed in any species." "You are making excuses for your failure," growled a Veltari elder. "I'm telling you the truth." Zorath replied, "We underestimated them. We saw their primitive technology and assumed they were weak. We were wrong." He paused, looking around the chamber at the faces that had sent him to conquer a world and now blamed him for failure. "The humans could have destroyed my remaining fleet," he continued. "They had one. We were broken and scattered. But instead of finishing us, they offered mercy. They let us leave." The chamber fell silent. "They are not like us," Zorath said quietly. "They do not seek conquest or domination. They only wanted to protect their home. And now they have proven they can do exactly that." The council debated for hours, but in the end, there was only one choice. The Veltari would not send another fleet. The cost was too high, and the galaxy was watching. If Earth defeated them again, the council's authority would collapse entirely. Instead, they sent a message requesting diplomatic talks. Ambassador Nicole Dawson received the news with the same calm smile she had worn throughout the crisis. She had spent her entire career preparing for moments like this, building bridges between people who thought they were enemies. "They want to negotiate," she told Daniel Harris. "They are offering Earth a seat on the Galactic Council." Daniel laughed softly. "A seat on the council? Months ago, they demanded our surrender. Now they want us as partners?" "That is how power works," Nicole said. "They respect strength. We have shown them we are strong. Now they want us on their side rather than against them." "What are the conditions?" "They want us to join as equals. Full voting rights. Access to galactic trade routes. Recognition of human sovereignty." Daniel considered this carefully. Part of him wanted to refuse, to tell the council that humanity wanted nothing to do with them. They had tried to destroy his people. Why should he trust them now? But another part of him knew that isolation was not the answer. The galaxy was vast and full of wonders and dangers. Humanity needed allies. They needed access to technology and resources beyond their own system. They needed to be part of the larger community of species. "We will accept," he decided, "but on our terms. We will never become conquerors like the Veltari. We will be a voice for peace, for cooperation, for the rights of all species to live free." 2 months later, Ambassador Nicole Dawson traveled to the council chambers for the first time as Earth's official representative. Her ship, the ED's Harmony, was small compared to the massive vessels that filled the space around the council station. But every ship they passed moved aside to let them through. Everyone knew who the humans were now. The council chamber was enormous, designed to hold thousands of delegates from hundreds of species. Nicole walked to the empty seat that had been prepared for humanity, feeling the eyes of the galaxy upon her. High Executor Zorath was there, stripped of his military rank but still a member of the Velthari delegation. He watched Nicole take her seat with an expression she could not read. When she was settled, the council chairman spoke. Earth is now recognized as a full member of the Galactic Council, he announced. Ambassador Nicole Dawson will speak for her people. Nicole rose from her seat. The chamber fell silent. Thank you for this welcome, she began. 2 months ago, your fleets came to destroy us. You thought we were primitive and weak. You thought we would surrender without a fight. She paused, looking around at the assembled delegates. We proved you wrong. Not because we are stronger than you, or more advanced, or more numerous. We won because we stood together. Because every human on our planet, despite our differences and disagreements, united to face a common threat. We are not here today as conquerors. We could have destroyed the Velthari fleet completely. We chose mercy instead. That is who we are. Humans believe that peace is always better than war, that cooperation is stronger than domination. We ask only one thing from this council. Treat us with respect. Do not threaten our home again. And know that our hand is extended in friendship to any species that wishes to take it. She sat down. For a moment, there was silence. Then, slowly, applause began to spread through the chamber. Not from everyone, but from many. Species who had lived in fear of the Velthari. Species who had been conquered and forced to serve. They saw in humanity something different, something hopeful. After the session, Zorath approached Nicole in the corridor outside the chamber. Ambassador, he said, may I speak with you? Nicole nodded. She was not afraid of him. Whatever he had been before, he was no longer her enemy. I have spent my entire life believing that strength meant dominance, Zorath said slowly. That the powerful must rule the weak. It is what I was taught. It is what the Velthari have always believed. He paused, his dark eyes meeting hers. But you showed me something different. You showed me that true strength is the ability to choose mercy when you could choose destruction. I do not fully understand it yet, but I think perhaps your way is better than ours. Nicole smiled. Understanding takes time, she said, but we have plenty of time. We are going to be neighbors for a very long while. On Earth, the celebrations continued for weeks. Captain Ryan Mitchell returned home to parades and cheering crowds. The crew of the Defiance became heroes, their names known in every household. Admiral Lara Bennett retired quietly, satisfied that she had fulfilled the mission she had trained for her entire life. Dr. Megan Price began working with scientists from other species, sharing some of humanity's defensive technology in exchange for medical and agricultural advances that would help Earth flourish. The exchange was careful and controlled, but it was a beginning. Daniel Harris addressed the planet one final time as Secretary General before handing power to his successor. We have won more than a battle, he said. We have won our place among the stars. The galaxy now knows what humanity is capable of. They know our strength, but more importantly, they know our values. We are not conquerors. We are builders. We are dreamers. We are a species that looks at the impossible and finds a way. That is our gift. That is our legacy. The future is uncertain. There will be challenges ahead, new enemies, new crises, but I have faith in humanity. I have seen what we can do when we stand together." He smiled, the same confident smile that had become humanity's symbol. We rejected their surrender demand with a smile. Now we enter the galactic community with that same smile. Not from arrogance, but from hope. From confidence in who we are and what we can become. Welcome to the future. Humanity has arrived. In the council chambers, Nicole Dawson sat among delegates from across the galaxy. Some were friendly. Others were wary. A few were openly hostile. But she was not worried. She thought about Kevin Brooks, the young officer who had received the first message on a quiet night shift. She thought about Daniel Harris, who had made the impossible decision to fight. She thought about Ryan Mitchell, Lara Bennett, Megan Price, and all the countless humans who had sacrificed and struggled to bring them to this moment. They had faced extinction and survived. They had been offered surrender and chosen defiance. They had won a war and offered peace. Now they would show the galaxy what humanity could build. Nicole looked out at the stars through the chamber's great windows and smiled. This was just the beginning.